figure out. Dutchie's good. Chantal, you're maybe the only one. David, you have a little bit of a big room. It's a different mic. Different mic. Let me try one thing and then we'll get started. Testing 1, 2, 1. Yeah, the volume's not overly loud. Is that any better? How's that? Any better? Yes, Chantal has to go through Canadian airspace. I know. I know. All right, let's get started. It's been a weird week because a lot of reports have been at different times, different days because of Veterans Day. Veterans Day created a little bit of chaos with report placement, and today is a result of that also. So let me start the stream. One second. Oh man, bear with me here. Okay, so let's get started. We're in the stream. Let me just give me one more minute. I'll be set. Sometimes the technology is behind me. Okay, so welcome to the preliminary University of Michigan trade room and the 10-minute trades trade room. My name is Lee Goldstein. I'm the trading director at 10-minute trades. Please remember that all the trades discussed are for educational purposes. It is possible to lose money trading futures. Okay, so let's talk about, excuse me, I can't talk about anything. Okay, sorry about that. I don't know what happened to my throat, but I can't breathe. All right, let's talk about what's going on with this report today. So you'll notice we have a JOLTS report, and what I was starting to say, now the markets are opening now, so you can see some volatility. What I was starting to say is because of Veterans Day, reports have been placed with other reports. And you know, when you think about it, why I don't understand why they have to go. It almost seems like there's a panic mode that takes place with the reports. Why don't they just release a few next week? I mean, what's the big deal? Maybe there's some sort of rules or the data sets may have to be released within a certain period of time, but we have an issue today where JOLTS, which does have impact, but very inconsistent trading, is trading with the University of Michigan. And I don't think I've ever seen them trade together. So, and then University of Michigan is a report preliminary now that, let's look at the daily market mover. And I'm looking at it for a particular reason. So I just want to show you also a couple of tools that I use when I can that help me to find trades, to decide if I want to take a trade. How do I know that University of Michigan hasn't traded with JOLTS before? These are important things that if you know which tools you can look at, it can really, really help you and save a lot of time also. So problem number one, and you know I would rather trade than not trade. So problem number one today is when preliminary University of Michigan is by itself, since we brought it back in July, it's been a 50-50. That's when it's by itself. So it's definitely not a family trade, but it's a 50-50. It's not like a gigantic whipsaw crazy trade. I would probably normally trade it in our test account. I would not have any problem doing that. But here's the issue for today. So you can see that since we brought it back, it's been performing so poorly that we put it away for quite a few months, April, May, June, July. Okay, it was not worth trading because of its behavior prior to April. Okay, had not been trading well. So then how do I know that JOLTS has never traded, or if ever, it's been so rare, how do I know that it hasn't traded with University of Michigan preliminary? So there is a website that it seems to me is they do Forex news, okay, and it's called fasteconomicnews.com, and it's they have a calendar that I used to use all the time, but something happened since the world crisis began, and they have not been as on the money with their calendar. In other words, I would go look, I used to be able to find the calendar, look at it, and I would be able to use the calendar in helping me set up my schedule. In other words, I'm always looking at calendars, whether it's Econoday or investing.com, Forex Factory. They are a competitor to us, okay? But they're in the Forex world. So I'm not afraid to show you other companies that are out there. You understand what I'm saying? They have a tool that is, everybody can use it, their calendar. When it's working well, I can go to their website, fasteconomicnews.com, click on calendar, right? Scroll down to today and click on JOLTS. And when they have it running, it's the best calendar I've ever seen. Click on JOLTS and it shows you every JOLTS trade that has taken place for years of data. Fantastic calendar. So why is that so good? Because it lets me go back and look at the dates of all the previous JOLTS reports. And in a minute, I can scroll down and see very clearly and obviously that JOLTS has never traded with University of Michigan unless you go back almost a year and a half. Once in May of 2020, May of 2020. So what was that, 2 years? Yes. Excuse me for all of a sudden, it's like I was hit with an allergy, and I don't have allergies. So in 2020, 2 years ago, it traded more often with other reports, but JOLTS was not so important back then. JOLTS, if I remember, was pretty new back then. Maybe I'm wrong. It seems like JOLTS is around longer. But the point is, in recent market history, JOLTS does not trade with the University of Michigan. you have to go all the way back to 2020. That's meaningless, okay? Looking at the market reaction in 2020 has no meaning. It's too far, the markets are too different, and it just doesn't help us, okay? So for our purposes, these two reports don't normally trade together. Now, I don't think that it's changing. I don't think that whoever decided to put them together today is changing and they're going to start trading together. That's not what's going on here. What's going on here is that because of Veterans Day, these two reports got released together this week. That's what's going on here. So what's important about all this is you need to protect your account at all costs. That's goal number one. You know, I occasionally talk and say goal number one is education, blah, blah, blah. Goal number one is to protect your account, make money. Everything else, then education is number two, and learning how to do this properly. You know, you can reverse them. If you don't know how to do this properly, you can't protect your account. So maybe protecting, you know, maybe doing this properly is number one, because that allows you to protect your account. But for all purposes, we'll say we need to protect our account today. And there's no test. I don't have a test that I was able to do to see how Michigan preliminary and JOLTS will trade together. So, okay, so you want to think a little bit outside the box. So the first thing you do, well, how's Michigan been doing by itself? How's Michigan been doing by itself? And not great. It's a 50-50 over the past 4 months. All right. Last report was good. Last report was a good winner. But that's really the only recent report that's been very good. So we don't have a good indication from University of Michigan how to do anything with this. And then when I look back at all my JOLTS notes, show me a report with no setup. We have a trap trade setup that didn't work last month. We have a breakout setup that doesn't work most of the time. And I'm not crazy about trading the NQ at 10 a.m. Okay, I know that even in the room, one of our members, he does like trading the NQ at 10 o'clock. And he seems to have some success with it. But I don't, I think that the NQ at 10 o'clock moves not necessarily due to the news as much as it sometimes just moves because it's 10 o'clock. And it's 30 minutes after the market opens, and there generally can be a news move. So the real issue with today is no matter what we do, it's a completely random trade, okay? And it has no meaning in going forward or looking back. It doesn't give us a clue about anything. It doesn't tell us how to trade University of Michigan, and it doesn't really help us trade JOLTS because Michigan can be traded by itself and JOLTS can be traded by itself. So, you know, I had the trade room because they are reports that I like to watch. But so let's take it one more step. So let's think outside the box again. Michigan is a consumer confidence report and an inflation report. Okay, that's what it is. Those are its elements. It's got consumer confidence and Michigan inflation expectations. That's what makes up the report. Okay. So the probabilities right now today, given most of the news we've seen, CPI had the worst inflationary numbers in, I think, what was it, 10 years, 20 years? It was terrible. I think we can safely think there's a stronger possibility of negative inflation and then possible negative consumer confidence because of what's been going on for the past month or so with inflation and shipping and all that stuff. And then you have JOLTS, which is a type of jobs report. Let's look up JOLTS and we'll read the definition of the type of report it is. And so we're trying to think a little bit outside the box right now, okay? That's my goal when we're faced with a very confusing situation. Is there anything we can do to trade live and have an edge? So that's what this analysis is all about. Trying to see if I can figure out what my edge would be. So when you go to JOLTS today and click on exactly what it is, and you can use Forex Factory, click on the file folder, and it's the number of job openings during the reported month, not counting the farming industry. Okay. Let's also check investing.com to see if it gives us any more data than that, because it's not really very specific, right? That's not great info. It's a jobs report, some sort of a jobs report. It's not really clear what exactly what. Let's see if investing.com gives us any better info. So a survey done by the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics to help measure job vacancies. And it collects data from employers about their businesses' employment, job openings, recruitment, hires and separations, okay? Job openings as all positions that are open, not filled. So a little bit more data. You'd think that this would be a very strong report in terms of its impact. And it's pretty much been getting stronger over the years, but nothing to write home about, okay? We don't have a valid setting for it, and we've never had a DMM for it, okay? So that means it has not been a worthwhile report. Certainly over the years in its past, it hasn't been worth trading and making. It hasn't given the opportunity to make money. So what's going to happen with the jobs report? You know, the jobs reports have been really good. Jobs have been created, and you know, even the Thursday claims were more bullish than bearish this week. So we have another problem. If you're just trying to analyze what might happen with the news, which is very difficult to do, but you know, you want to try and be as intelligent as you can, we have a possibility of mixed news. We have maybe a good jobs report, JOLTS, and a negative inflation report. So and reports that probably will not trade together for another year and a half, 2 years. So I can't recommend that you all trade real money. I don't have a setup. I don't have a setup. We don't know if preliminary University of Michigan is going to take precedence. You'd think that maybe it would, because it's an inflation report. The market definitely looks at that report. It has a history of looking at the report. So my gut feeling is maybe Michigan will take precedence, but I've been watching JOLTS for years, and it's been having more and more of an impact than it's had previously. So there's two quick things we can do, okay? Two quick things we can do to learn. I think really all we can do is learn today. We can enter the normal DMM, okay, with a bracket of 8. And I know for a fact that my recommendation was a bracket of 10 on University of Michigan. That was my personal recommendation. If I were trading live money, I'd probably be using a 10 because that's what my testing was showing. But for today, because I want to test our report, I'm going with the 8 bracket with targets of 5 and 8 on gold, normal gold. And I've got a stop of 10, and my entry time is 9:59.59. Okay, 9:59.59. Now, JOLTS has had a trap trade set up that hasn't been bad. Hasn't been great because it got stopped last month, but I do have a setup. So on my other chart, just so maybe we can learn something here, because we can, well, yeah, maybe we can learn something here. I think that really this is just honestly an exercise in trying to figure out what to do when you don't know what to do. You know, you can try different things in the hopes that you'll possibly find a valid trade, but is the risk worth it? Today, the risk is completely unknown. It's the biggest coin toss I've ever seen, okay? This is the biggest coin toss I've ever seen. A higher number would probably mean more inflation, okay? A higher number would mean more inflation. But we don't, honestly, we don't trade Forex, so I'm really not going to be able to answer your Forex question, unfortunately. Whether the pound dollar, what the pound dollar is going to do is not something we look at. We're trading gold, and we're trading, on this report, I'm trading a reversal, a special type of reversal trade on micro gold to see if our trap trade setup would work. So my JOLTS trap trade setup would be, and that's what I'm looking for. Okay, so my tiers, we have a setup called the trap trade, and I'm testing it on micro gold. Sometimes micro gold doesn't work at all because it has no liquidity. My tiers on JOLTS are 12 and 20. I'm going to make it a tiny bit bigger today, though, because we have 2 reports together. So I'm still going to make my first tier, I'm going to make it go a little bit further. 14 or 15 and 24. I don't think it's going to go that far. It may not go quite that far. That's number of ticks. My stop is going to be 20. I'm going to leave it at 20. It's 20 ticks. Price at the time is what should be in bracket center. Average price bars is a default of 10. Position size 1 and 2, each of them should be 1. Okay, 1 contract at each position. Wait for spike is a default of 5. Stop loss should be last fill price. It should say nothing about the average. If it says average price, change it, okay, by clicking that little arrow. The stop is 20. The entry time, it's really what the entry time means is the time of the trade. The true entry time is the number under entry time. It's the preparation. 10 seconds before 10 o'clock, my orders are going to show up on the chart. Order prep 10 seconds. That's the actual activation time. 10 seconds before 10 o'clock. So 9:59:50. My orders will show up on the chart. And there will be brackets above and below the price And the key with the trap trade, the way that it works, okay, the way that it works, and I'm going to move my news to the side, okay, I'm hearing the news. I'm hearing the news from Financial Juice, okay? Well, it's a website that we use. I'm hearing the news in my headset from Financial Juice. And I will know without looking at investing.com what the results are. But I have my investing.com open right on my other monitor, so I'll be able to move it in so we can see it right after the report comes out, okay, right after the news is released. So 10 seconds before the report is released, my orders will show up as a trap trade. Gold last month worked pretty well, okay, with just University of Michigan. But it's truly an unknown today what you can count on. You can't count on anything. Okay, folks, on YouTube, I want to thank you so much for watching. And I just want to put a little note on up for you. We're closing our YouTube stream. We hope you'd like to come into our trade room and see what happens at the end of the trade. So thank you very much for watching. 10minutetrades.com. You can watch the rest of our trade. Thank you on YouTube. Appreciate it.